get the hell out my office.
No.
Right now.
You can't do this.
I don't care about you filming. Like I told you, I'm not seeing you. I am not. Take that ridiculous hat off if you want to be seen by you.
Keep recording, baby. Keep recording.
I don't care about her recording. I'm
This is
telling you.
insane.
What's insane is you come in my office. I have the right not to see you.
The right.
Yes.
The
Read the
right.
laws that just passed, honey. Take the ridiculous hat off if you want me to see you.
No.
Okay, well, he can be sick. He can stay sick. He can remain sick. You in that recording can get the hell out too.
Woke liberals are going through a collective psychological meltdown. And that's not even remotely an exaggeration. Take a look at this headline from the Daily Beast. DC psychologists are seeing an uptick in Democrat patients. Obviously, if that doctor lady is any indicator, they're going through an emotional and psychological breakdown. And stick with me at the very end of this video because actually I've got a study that is going to show you exactly why this is, why particularly liberal women are having a psychotic breakdown here. It's going to explain so much. But this article from the Daily Beast highlighted an earlier report from Axios that noted that the breakneck speed by which Trump is completely dismantling the Democrats' city of D.C. Remember, the Democrats own D.C., the Republicans merely rent. Well, that D.C. that they've owned for these last several decades is being dismantled and unraveled at such a breakneck speed that liberals just simply can't keep up. They can't handle it. They're going through a kind of cognitive dissonance. Their brains literally can't interpret what's happening. Andrea Bonior, a Georgetown University professor and psychologist, told Axios she's seen a very noticeable increase in patients, largely Democrats, citing burnout and despair, in part due to the mounting uncertainty generated by Trump's rapid-fire policies and the energy required to keep up with it. And it's only going to get worse. According to the latest CBS poll, 61% of respondents support Trump's efforts at unraveling and ending DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion. 45% believe Trump's focus on ending DEI is just right, whereas 16% actually think he's not doing enough. So clearly a supermajority of the nation wants an end to the Democrats' woke policies for the country. And when Democrats look to their own party to see who can stand up and help stop the bleeding, they see this.
We will win. 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 We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Yeah, Upchuck has got to learn the number one rule when trying to start up a chant. You don't change the chant midway through. If barely anyone is joining in with you for the first one, they're sure as heck not going to be joining in with you for the change-up. Now, this psychological breakdown that's being reported among so many Democrats is actually just par for the course for woke liberals. Wait until you see this study. If you thought the woke left was, well, shall we say, bat dung crazy, to use the King James, you were right. You were absolutely right. This is going to make your day. But first, now that Fauci has been pardoned, RFK Jr. is obviously going to unearth what most of us already knew about the pandemic. It's so sad this effort won't help the tens of millions who have never felt the same after getting the virus or the mRNA shots. We all know someone with a personal story. Pfizer has been forced to release a detailed list of side effects associated with its COVID-19 shots. And a common concern among those side effects is what's called long COVID syndrome. It's a condition that leaves people feeling brain fog or chronic fatigue, shortness of breath, lingering for months, in some cases years. Well, the good news is that the wellness company is here to help with their new long COVID syndrome support. Now, you get 4 doctor-formulated nutraceuticals with 5 to 8 plants and minerals in each bottle designed to address the root causes. Ultimate Spike Detox, Mind Lift, Elevated Energy, and healthy heart. Dr. McCullough recommends a durable recovery through holistic health, with COVID syndrome support being an essential part of that plan. So right now, you could save $40 off on the bundle plus free shipping. Just click on that link below or head on over to twc.health/Turley and make sure to use code Turley, my last name, to take action today for a healthier tomorrow. That's twc.health/Turley. A few years back, a study conducted by Pew Research found that the majority, yes, you heard that right, the majority, a very clear majority of left-wing white women were diagnosed with some type of mental disorder. I know you can't make this stuff up. Now, at the time, Pew conducted the study to try to determine the psychological effects of the COVID lockdown. So this is a few years back. And let's just say they found some very interesting data. The report from Evie Magazine sums it up well. Quote, the study, which examined white liberals, moderates, and conservatives, both male and female, found that conservatives were far less likely to be diagnosed with mental health issues than those who identified as either liberal or even very liberal. What's more, the study found that white women suffered the worst of all. White women ages 18 to 29 who identified as liberal were given a mental health diagnosis from medical professionals at a rate of 56%, as compared to just 28.4% for moderates and 27.3% for conservatives. So the upshot here in this Pew Research study is that 56% of white liberal women between the ages of 18 and 29 have real bona fide mental issues, bottom line. And I was particularly struck by a Twitter thread on this study when it first came out by a PhD student who tweeted this out, quote, I didn't write this thread to mock white liberals or their apparently disproportionate rates of mental illness, and you shouldn't either. Yeah, well, I think they're too busy making themselves legitimate objects of mockery, if you ask me. But regardless, rather, this is a question that's underexplored and which may shed light on attitudinal differences. That's right, attitudinal differences towards various social policies. So according to this PhD student, people who are basically nuts see politics differently than those who are relatively sane. Thank heavens for academics. Now, the truth is that these findings from the Pew study are not out of the ordinary. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Polish psychologist Andrzej Lobachevsky. We've talked about him a number of times on this channel. He studied leftists and particularly Marxist elites for over 40 years. He actually pioneered a study that he called political ponerology. Ponerology comes from the ancient Greek term poneros, which means evil. So it's the study of political evil. And this fellow Lobachevsky concluded that virtually all of the leftist Marxists that he studied and diagnosed, he concluded they really are all psychopaths. They're obsessed with controlling and manipulating others. And he noted particularly surrounding the time period of World War II into the Cold War Soviet era, that when the world was run politically by psychopaths, it becomes hysterical. It literally becomes insane. And so we've actually got critical studies of far leftists, like Lobachevsky's studies, that come to even more dramatic conclusions than the Pew study when it comes to left-wing sentiments and mental illness. He really believed that these people, these left-wing lunatics, were actually just that. They were psychopaths. Now, by contrast, we have studies such as a very extensive one from the University of Southern California and the University of Utah that found that conservatives, political and cultural conservatives, are frankly the opposite. They are consistently far happier, they are more satisfied, and they have greater purpose in life than their liberal counterparts. And it was a very significant study. They surveyed more than 25,000 people from 16 different countries. And the authors of the study found that conservatives admit to far greater levels of personal happiness than liberals, far more. And one explanation for that is that conservatives are more likely to do two interrelated things. They're more likely to be married, and they're more likely to practice a religion seriously. And those two dynamics are interrelated. They're interconnected. Taking religion very seriously is a key dynamic for successful marriage. A number of studies have demonstrated that people who seriously practice a traditional religious faith have a divorce rate markedly lower than the general population. And what's also been demonstrated is marriage and religion tend to be associated with greater levels of happiness. You'll dig this, even the ultra-liberal New York Times recognized that. They took a break from collecting their USAID funds to find that 52% of married, religious, politically conservative people who have children consider themselves, quote, very happy. Whereas when it comes to single, secular, liberal people without kids, that happiness number drops to an abysmal 14%. How's that for a happiness discrepancy? 52% of religious married conservatives versus just 14% of secular single liberals. And again, the primary reason offered for such a happiness discrepancy between liberals and conservatives is that conservatives, being married with children and practicing a traditional religion, tend to have a very rich sense of meaning and purpose in life, whereas secular liberals, frankly, don't. They're nihilistic. Life is inherently meaningless, or whatever meaning they give to life is it tends to be, again, this is the average, tends to be very shallow. This is why they're so angry all the time. In fact, the studies are even more revealing here. That University of Southern California and University of Utah study actually found that the highest degrees of happiness, you're going to love this, the highest degrees of happiness were experienced by people who were socially conservative. In other words, happiness wasn't a trait simply for the religious, as it were, but for those who took seriously a distinctively conservative vision for social and cultural life, such as being pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, pro-family values. So there appears to be something very key here in terms of the conservative notion of order, particularly a sense of moral order in the world and in our lives. Brad Wilcox, he's the director of the National Marriage Project at the University of Virginia, he's observed that conservatives are more likely to have the sense that there is an order in their life, a moral order in particular, and a commitment to order gives people a sense of meaning and purpose. So all of this is to say, well, yeah, the woke left is nuts. They are bona fide nuts. We always knew it. But now we got the studies and the therapy visits to prove it. Hey there, Dr. Steve here, and I got a question for you. What if you could go back in time and get in on the Bitcoin era when it was still just under $1? Or buy a prime real estate before the market exploded, say, in Manhattan? Or invest in a company like Tesla before the whole world caught on? Well, that's exactly where we are right now. The parallel economy is exploding like never before. New financial opportunities are opening up, and those who see the shift and take action early are the ones who will prosper the most. That's why I'm hosting a live 90-minute event on February 27th called the America's Golden Age Summit. Now, I'll be joined by some amazing expert guests who are going to show you how to position yourself for massive success in this new era. But even better, what exactly to do in this new era. It's a truly one-of-a-kind, game-changing event. Listen, early bird tickets are now just $7, but not for long. Click the link, grab your spot, and be a part of America's Golden Age Summit. Do not miss this chance to get ahead. I can't wait to see you there.